My unbearable wife left, but now I want her annoying self back. I've been married to my wife for over 4 years now, and from the very beginning of our relationship, she was always a little different, quirky, playful, full of life, and honestly, incredibly annoying. She wasn't the kind of person who took things too seriously, and she had this way of turning everyday moments into something extraordinary, even if it meant driving me up the wall in the process. When we first started dating, I wasn't sure what to make of her antics. She had this mischievous streak that seemed to run deeper than anyone I'd ever met before. For instance, she had a habit of scaring me at the most random times. She'd hide around corners or sneak up behind me while I was focused on something, then let out a blood-curdling scream just to watch me jump out of my skin. At first, I'd get irritated, but she'd laugh so hard that it was impossible to stay mad. Her laughter was infectious, the kind that could instantly brighten your mood, no matter how bad your day had been. She also loved to mess with me in the most unexpected ways. When we were lying in bed, she'd sneak her freezing cold hands and feet into my shirt, making me yelp and squirm. It was her way of teasing me, and though I'd groan and complain about it, deep down, I loved it. It was part of who she was, this weird, lovable, spontaneous person who could find joy in the simplest things. And then there was her habit of calling my name in the most dramatic, panicked way, only to follow it up with something like, "I love you," or "Can you bring me a snack?" It was so ridiculous that it became endearing. Even her pranks extended to my car. On weekends, when she knew I didn't need it, she'd take the caps off my tires so the air would leak out. At first, I thought it was a random problem, but when I finally figured out she was behind it, I couldn't believe it. She laughed so hard when she saw my reaction, and though I was annoyed, I couldn't help but smile. She never did anything that actually caused harm. It was all in good fun. That's just who she was. She had this incredible ability to make life feel light and fun, even in moments that would otherwise seem mundane. Sure, her antics could be frustrating at times, but they were also part of what made her so special. I loved her for it. I loved the way she kept me on my toes and how she brought so much energy and joy into our lives. But everything changed 3 months ago. Her mom passed away unexpectedly, and it shook her to her core. Her mom wasn't just her parent, she was her best friend, her role model, her hero. My wife grew up without her dad. He left as soon as he found out her mom was pregnant, and her mom was the one who stepped up, raising her on her own and teaching her everything she needed to know about life. Her mom was an incredible woman. She was kind, strong, and full of wisdom. She was the person my wife turned to for advice, comfort, and guidance. Losing her was like losing a part of herself, and I could see it in the way my wife changed almost overnight. She became quiet, withdrawn, and heartbreakingly calm. All the things that used to make her so uniquely her, the pranks, the laughter, the mischievous glint in her eyes were gone. It was like the light inside her had been extinguished, and in its place was a heavy, suffocating sadness. At first, I thought it was just the natural process of grieving. I tried to be there for her as much as I could, offering her comfort and letting her know that she didn't have to go through this alone. But as the weeks turned into months, I started to realize that the person I had fallen in love with, the woman who had brought so much chaos and joy into my life, was slipping away. She stopped doing all the things that used to annoy me. She didn't scare me anymore or scream my name out of the blue. She didn't sneak her cold hands and feet into my shirt, and she certainly didn't mess with my car tires. Even the small, silly things she used to do, like making my coffee salty just to see my reaction, had disappeared. At first, It felt like a relief not to have to deal with her antics, but now I'd give anything to have them back. I miss her so much. I miss the way she used to laugh uncontrollably after pulling off one of her pranks. I miss the way her eyes would light up with mischief when she was planning something. I miss the sound of her voice when she'd call out to me, full of energy and excitement. I even miss the way she'd drive me crazy with her little quirks and habits. One evening, about a month ago, I tried to talk to her about it. She was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, which wasn't even on. Her hands were folded in her lap, and she looked so small, so fragile. I sat down beside her and gently took her hand in mine. "Hey," I said softly, "I miss you." She turned to look at me, her eyes glassy and distant. "I'm right here," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "No," I said, shaking my head. "I mean, I miss you. The real you. The one who used to drive me crazy with her silly pranks and weird habits. The one who made me laugh even when I didn't want to. The one who turned my world upside down in the best possible way." Tears welled up in her eyes, and she looked away. "I don't know if I can be that person anymore," she said. "It feels like a part of me died with her." Hearing her say that broke my heart. I wanted to tell her that it wasn't true, that she was still the same amazing person I fell in love with, but I knew that words alone wouldn't be enough to bring her back. She needed time, and she needed to heal. Since that conversation, I've been trying to find ways to remind her of who she used to be, to bring back even just a small spark of the joy and mischief that defined her. I've started pulling pranks on her, nothing too crazy, just little things to make her smile. Like the other day, I replaced her phone's ringtone with a recording of me screaming, "I love you," at the top of my lungs. When her phone rang and she heard it, she actually laughed. It was a small laugh, but it was real, and it gave me hope. I've also been planning little surprises for her, like hiding notes around the house with silly messages, or drawing goofy faces on her mirror with a dry erase marker. I even started putting ice cubes in her socks before handing them to her, just to see if I could get a reaction. It's not much, but it's my way of showing her that the world doesn't have to be so heavy all the time, that it's okay to find joy in the little things. There's still a long way to go, and I know that nothing I do can take away the pain of losing her mom. But I'm not giving up on her. I'll keep doing whatever it takes to remind her of the beautiful, vibrant person she is. Because she's not just my wife, she's my best friend, my partner, my everything. And no matter how hard things get, I'll always be here for her, just like she's always been there for me. Last week, something amazing happened. She scared me. It was late at night, and I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom when she suddenly appeared behind me in the mirror, letting out a loud scream. I jumped so high that I nearly swallowed my toothbrush. When I turned around, she was laughing. It wasn't the same carefree laughter I remembered, but it was a start. It was a glimpse of the woman I fell in love with, the woman who made life so wonderfully unpredictable. I pulled her into a hug, toothpaste and all, and we stood there for what felt like forever. "Welcome back," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. She didn't say anything, but the way she held on to me told me everything I needed to know. She was still in there, beneath the layers of grief and sadness. And little by little, she was finding her way back. Life isn't easy, and there will always be challenges that test us in ways we never expected. But if there's one thing I've learned over these past few months, it's that love isn't just about enjoying the good times together. It's about standing by each other in the darkest moments, holding on even when it feels like everything is falling apart. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I do know one thing. I'll never stop fighting for her, for us. Because no matter how annoying, quirky, or downright ridiculous she can be, she's my person, and I wouldn't trade her for anything in the world. These days, she spends most of her time lying in bed, cuddling with me in silence. She doesn't cry anymore, but she doesn't smile either. It's like she's stuck in this state of numbness, unable to feel anything at all. And it breaks my heart to see her like this. I've tried everything I can think of to bring her back to life. I've tried to make her laugh, to remind her of the things she used to love, but nothing seems to work. She's like a shadow of her former self, and I don't know how to reach her. Each attempt feels like throwing pebbles into a vast, dark ocean, hoping for even the faintest ripple in return. I find myself reminiscing about the past more and more these days. I think about all the moments we shared, the good and the bad, and how they made our relationship so special. I think about the times she'd surprise me with her silly antics, like the time she hid under the bed for nearly an hour just to jump out and scare me when I least expected it, or the time she convinced me to try one of her special recipes, only for me to discover that she'd added an absurd amount of salt to it. Those moments weren't just memories. They were pieces of a puzzle that made up the vibrant, unpredictable woman I fell in love with. They were the spark and chaos that brought life to our days. And now, in their absence, our home feels too quiet, too empty. I remember how she used to fill the silence with her laughter. It wasn't just any laughter, it was infectious, the kind that could make even the grumpiest person crack a smile. She had this ability to find humor in the smallest things, turning mundane moments into cherished memories. Like the time she turned folding laundry into a ridiculous game, complete with commentary and dramatic flourishes. Or the time she made shadow puppets on the wall during a blackout, narrating an impromptu story that had me in stitches. Now, our days are quiet and still. She doesn't prank me anymore, doesn't tease me, doesn't do any of the things that used to make me roll my eyes and shake my head. And as much as I used to complain about her antics, I miss them more than I ever thought possible. I miss her smile the most. It was the kind of smile that could light up a room, that made you feel like everything was going to be okay. It wasn't just a curve of her lips. It was a reflection of her soul, pure, unfiltered joy. It was one of the things I loved most about her. Now, that smile is gone, and I feel like I've lost a part of her that I'll never get back. I've tried to create new memories, thinking that maybe they'd help her find her way back to happiness. I plan small adventures, a picnic at her favorite park, a visit to the place where we first met, even a movie marathon of her beloved rom-coms. But she sits through them with a distant look in her eyes, as if she's present in body, but her mind is far away. I know I can't bring her mom back, and I know that grief is something she has to work through in her own time. But I'd give anything to see her happy again, to see her smile the way she used to hear her laugh and feel her playful energy filling our home. Sometimes, I catch glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, the way she cuddles up to me, the way she looks at me with those big, expressive eyes. But they're fleeting, and they always leave me longing for more. It's like watching the sun peek out from behind heavy clouds, only to disappear again before you can fully bask in its warmth. I've learned something important through all of this. It's the little things that matter the most. The things that seem insignificant or even annoying at the time are often the things you miss the most when they're gone. I never thought I'd say this, but I want my annoying wife back. I want her cold hands and her silly pranks and her dramatic outbursts of affection. I want her to mess with my car tires and make me salty coffee just to see my reaction. I want her to be weird and loud and unapologetically herself. I remember one winter evening when she decided that we absolutely had to build a snowman. It was late, and I was tired from work, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. She dragged me outside, bundled up in layers, and we spent hours in the freezing cold, laughing as we tried to shape the snow into something vaguely resembling a person. By the end of it, we were shivering and soaked, but the joy in her eyes made it all worth it. That snowman stayed in our yard for weeks, a testament to her relentless determination and boundless energy. Now, our yard is just as quiet as our home. The swing she used to sit on while sipping her morning coffee sways empty in the breeze. The garden she used to tend to with so much love is overgrown, a silent reminder of her absence. Every corner of our home seems to whisper her name, echoing with memories of the life we shared. Grief is a strange thing. It's not just the pain of losing someone, it's the realization that life goes on without them. And for her, it seems like the world has stopped. I've tried to be her anchor, to hold her steady as she navigates this storm, but some days, I feel like I'm failing. I don't know how to help her find her way back to the surface, but I'm not giving up. Love isn't about perfection or ease. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about holding on, even when the person you love is slipping away. It's about believing in the possibility of healing, even when the wounds seem too deep. If there's one thing I've learned in the past few months, it's that love isn't about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's about the quiet moments, sitting together in silence, holding hands, and simply being there for each other. It's about finding strength in the midst of heartbreak and holding on to hope, even when it feels like all is lost. I'm holding on to the hope that one day she'll find her way back to those moments and back to me. I'm holding on to the memories of who she used to be, not as a way to dwell on the past, but as a reminder of what's possible. Because I believe that beneath the layers of grief and pain, the woman I fell in love with is still there. And I'll keep loving her, even in the darkest moments, until she finds her light again. Until then, I'll keep trying. I'll keep planning small adventures, keep making her favorite meals, keep holding her hand when the nights get too quiet. I'll keep showing up, day after day, because that's what love is. It's not about fixing what's broken or erasing the pain. It's about being there, no matter what. And I'll be here, waiting for her smile to return, for her laughter to fill our home once more. Because she's worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, she's worth it. And I'll never stop fighting for the woman who brought so much joy and love into my life. I'll never stop hoping for the day when she'll look at me with that mischievous glint in her eyes, ready to pull another one of her ridiculous pranks. I want my annoying wife back, and I'll do whatever it takes to bring her home.